Are all Scooter Braun's clients dropping him? Why has this all been in the media lately? Are some of these rumors? Some of these are confirmed. We're all wondering what's going on. Does it have anything to do with Taylor Swift? Who even is Scooter Braun and why is everybody so worked up about this anyway? We're going to answer those questions in this video. Welcome to No Culty Vibes. I'm your host, Cassie Marie. I talk about all things cult, pop culture, and celebrity cult members. So make sure you like this video and subscribe if you are interested in more culty content. And today we are going to be doing a deep dive on Scooter Braun to see if there are any culty red flags with him, why people have so many rumors going around of why his clients might be dropping him, what might actually be going on, and if there's any drama. This is my first long form video that I've done in quite a while, so it might be a little clunky, it might be a little like we're going to go on a journey together. We're going to figure this out together and learn a ton about Scooter Braun in the process. So Scooter Braun is a talent manager. He's best known for discovering Justin Bieber off of YouTube and for managing him his entire career. And he's also best known for the ongoing feud that he has with Taylor Swift. Scooter is the reason that Taylor is re-recording her first 6 albums. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the video, but there's all kinds of juicy culty stuff in all of this. Oh my God, I got an itch. Scooter's also known for having an on-again, off-again management relationship with Kanye West. He's managed Ariana Grande on again, off again as well. He recently has been known for managing Demi Lovato. He's managed J Balvin for a short period of time. And there've been a couple other big names on his roster throughout the year. Scooter Braun went to college in Atlanta, Georgia, and started his career by organizing parties at the university. And then he got a job with a management company to plan after parties for different events going on around the country. And he planned after parties for Ludacris and Eminem and got involved in the hip hop scene. Being involved in the hip hop scene led him to meeting Jermaine Dupri, and Jermaine hired Scooter as a marketing person in his So Def Records, I think is what it's called. Let me try to figure this out. Yeah, it was called So Def Records. So Scooty Scoots was a marketing director, lead marketer for So Def Records by the time he was 20 years old. And then in 2007, he left Jermaine Dupri's business to start his own marketing company and brokered a couple deals for Ludacris. And then in 2008 is when he found. So Scooter Braun and Justin Bieber have a long history together. Scooter really takes credit for pulling Justin off of YouTube and creating this huge career for him. He introduced him to Usher, who mentored Bieber for a long time. And then they eventually signed Justin to their management group and gave him a record deal with Island. The rumors and scandals and culty red flags, honestly, start all the way back with Justin. We're not going to cover all of them here, but we are going to look at some of them. So when Scooter Braun originally brought Justin Bieber over to the United States, he brought Justin and his mom Patty from Canada to live in Atlanta, and Scooter paid for a lot of their expenses and essentially had Justin perform so that he could make money, Scooter could make money, the whole thing. A lot of people have alluded to the fact that Scooter basically trafficked Justin into the United States because for a time, Justin and Patty were here illegally, and Scooter has admitted to that in different interviews and publications. This tweet certainly alleges something along the lines of trafficking. Again, this is rumors, this is speculation, this is not. I don't know that Scooter Braun has done anything to legally fit the definition of trafficking, but it just comes a little too close for comfort for some people. If we scroll down here, you can see where he admitted to having Justin and his mom living in Atlanta illegally. They were in a townhouse under his name. He paid all of their bills. And you can see they included in here some information of what trafficking actually is. Now, in order to be trafficked, there has to be an element of coercion or control or unbalanced power dynamics, although it says here, or receiving payments and benefits. to achieve consent of exploitation. Within 3 years, Justin Bieber was a platinum selling, internationally famous pop star, and he went on a world tour that was huge. Now, a lot of people say, is it really trafficking if Justin's mom, Patty, was consenting to it the whole time? I don't know. Probably not. But he did, under whatever pretenses, bring them over here, give them benefits and payments, and use Justin to labor because he was child laboring to build his career and set him on a trajectory to be who he is today. I personally think the entertainment industry for children in general is culty. I think there is an element of coercive control involved for any child actors, child performers, anything along those lines. We see it time and time again where child actors and child performers have issues growing up. They face a lot of difficult things in their life. They face adultification, where they're made to work and live like an adult even though they are a child. I could go on and on and on. Allison Stoner actually has a great series on YouTube and has a podcast going on right now called Dear Hollywood, where she talks about the issues with child stardom and the laws and the systems that we have in place right now, how it's essentially harmful to children. So there's a lot of information out there. I think the podcast called Sounds Like a Cult even has an episode on the cult of child stars, and where that blurs the lines between cult and undue influence. It makes me think, it's child labor. Like, you are having children labor for the benefit of adults so that adults can make money off of them. And there are sometimes very few laws in place as to protections for these children to live in their childhood versus laboring for the benefit of adults. You get what I'm saying, but cults do this as well. Scientology has so many labor trafficking lawsuits against them right now. They have been accused many times of child labor trafficking, and so has several cults that have moved cult members, minors, across international borders for cult purpose. Along these same lines, Scooter Braun has been accused of overworking Justin in the past, pushing him to go on tour and stay on tour, even during some of the darkest times in his life. Scooter Braun claims that he was really there for Justin during hard times in his life, but we can look back on times when Justin said he was struggling and he was still working. He was still being asked to work. We don't know the extent to how much he was being asked to work or forced to work or coerced to work, but there are a lot of blurred lines there. A lot of people have also alluded to Justin's most recent tour that he had to cancel because he was having issues with parts of his face that was likely just an ailment brought on by stress, but he was unable to continue the tour, and allegedly he was very pushed to do so, and people kind of took this as a sign that Justin was still to this day being pushed too hard. Another kind of culty red flag, which I know a lot of people might not like this one or argue it could be not a red flag, but also just like combined with everything else and everything we're going to learn later on in the video, I personally take it as one. Justin and Scooter talk all the time about how they're so much more like family than they are like a professional relationship. And Daniela Mestinick Young, who wrote the book Uncultured, she grew up in the Children of God cult. She also has studied group behavior and cult at Harvard. So she's a scholar of cult. She posts a lot on TikTok and I reference her a lot. And she has like a list of criteria of how she defines a cult and like what not to do if you want to be considered a good group and not a cult. And she talks often about how you should never ever call yourself a family if you don't want to be thought of as a cult. This creates like a deeper level of intimacy and, again, just unbalanced power dynamics in a situation like Justin's and Scooter's, but in a lot of other situations as well. It's also a way to get people to do things that they wouldn't normally do for a group, but they might be more willing to self-sacrifice for their family. And of course, being willing to self-sacrifice is a telltale sign of being in a cult. So when I think of Scooter and Justin's relationship, I think about the things that Justin might be willing to sacrifice for Scooter because he's known him his whole life. He's kind of this parental figure. This has been alluded to in many different articles by many different people and so many reports, where you just wonder what might Justin be willing to do for Scooter that he wouldn't be willing to do for another manager. It's also like one of the reasons why therapists have codes of ethics where they don't cross boundaries between their clients. They don't become friends with their clients. They don't talk to their clients like their family members. They would never call a client someone so close to them that they're like family, because it crosses an ethical boundary and it makes this person's already being vulnerable with you. And I think, Justin's already being vulnerable with Scooter because he trusted him with his career. And when you create a more intimate connection, there's just things that can be taken advantage of if you're just really adamant that you're going to be considered family. This became very prevalent and apparent in Justin's relationship with Selena Gomez. We know there's so much drama in the pop culture world over the Justin, Selena, Hailey Bieber of it all, the timelines of those relationships, and all of the people that wanted to see Justin and Selena together in the end. But a lot of people talked about how Scooter Braun may have been a little bit too involved in Justin and Selena's relationship than may have been appropriate for a manager-client relationship. And over time, it's been reported that there was even bad blood between Selena Gomez and Scooter Braun. I found a little bit of someone describing this in this Business Insider article about Scooter Braun. An insider, someone that had known him for a long time, said, actually it says multiple people said that Justin Bieber was like his son and he had a quasi-parental figure relationship with him. And he appeared to be enmeshed in all aspects of Justin's life. Again, this is where it draws a line. Even being family is one thing, but being enmeshed in all areas of his life as his manager just seems to be crossing a line. Selena really backed up Taylor Swift in the Scooter Braun Taylor Swift feud. So that was another reason why people thought that like maybe he was so involved that he really pushed away any relationships that Justin had that didn't maybe benefit Scooter. It's even been suggested that one of the reasons that Taylor Swift really disliked Scooter Braun so much was because she was appalled at how he treated Selena while Justin and Selena were together and how he navigated that relationship, which brings us right on in to the Taylor of it all. Buckle up, because this is where things get a little crazy. So Taylor Swift has been feuding with Scooter Braun because he purchased the master recordings of her first 6 albums out from under her, allegedly, while she says that she was trying to buy them herself. He bought this through his Ithaca Holdings firm or company, one of the branches of his business, and then he turned around and sold those copies to another company in which he would profit off of the songs still for a length of time after the sale happened. So he bought them, turned around and sold them, profited off of them, while Taylor was allegedly trying to buy them to own her own work for herself, and then would continue earning off of them for a long time after. And I am going to read you what Taylor had to say about this, because she had issues with Scooter Braun before this happened and was really, really unhappy that this was the person that her old manager was selling her master recordings to. So I'm going to read to you what Taylor said when this initially happened. She said, "For years, I pleaded for a chance to own my own work. Instead, I was given an opportunity to sign back up to Big Machine Records and earn one album back at a time, one for every new one I turned in. I walked away because I knew that once I signed that contract, Scott Borchetta would sell the label, thereby selling me and my future. I had to make the excruciating choice to leave behind my past. Music I wrote on my bedroom floor and videos I dreamed up and paid for from the money I earned playing in bars, then clubs, then arenas, then stadiums." Some fun facts about today's news. I learned about Scooter Braun's purchase of my master's as it was announced to the world. All I could think about was the incessant manipulative bullying I've received at his hands for years. Like when Kim Kardashian orchestrated an illegally recorded snippet of a phone call to be leaked, and then Scooter got his two clients together to bully me online about it. See photo. I'll show you the photo in a second. Or when his client Kanye West organized a revenge, I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, music video which strips my body naked. Now Scooter has stripped me of my life's work that I wasn't given an opportunity to buy. Essentially, my musical legacy is about to lie in the hands of someone who tried to dismantle it. This is my worst case scenario. This is what happens when you sign a deal at 15 to someone for whom the term loyalty is clearly just a contractual concept. And when that man says music has value, he means its value is beholden to men who had no part in creating it. When I left my masters in Scott's hands, I made peace with the fact that eventually he would sell them. Never in my worst nightmares did I imagine the buyer would be Scooter. Anytime Scott Borchetta has heard the word Scooter Braun escape my lips, it was when I was either crying or trying not to. He knew what he was doing. They both did. Controlling a woman who didn't want to be associated with them in perpetuity. That means forever. Thankfully, I'm now signed to a label that believes I should own anything I create, blah, 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 blah. Okay, sad and grossed out, heart, Taylor. So this is a picture that Justin Bieber posted and Scooter Braun posted to bully Taylor when a lot of the Kanye issues were going on. Selena Gomez released a statement in support of Taylor at this time. She said, "My heart is so heavy right now. It makes me sick and extremely angry. I don't mind if there may be retaliation. This is my opinion. It's greed, manipulation, and power. There's no heart or thought of anyone else, no respect for the words my friend has written since she was 14 years old in her bedroom. You've robbed and crushed one of our best songwriters of our time, an opportunity to celebrate all of her music with her fans and the world." She goes on to talk about how she's known Taylor for such a long time, how much she loves Taylor, how much Taylor loves her family and friends. And she says, "Seeing my best friend or any of my friends be constantly pulled down is the worst feeling. Taylor fights. She will never stop fighting. People grow from choices. Some will stay exactly the same. I just want a change of heart." So in those two statements, you have two women describing a man as manipulative, as a bully, as someone who is only interested in power and money, as someone who is really greedy. Those are all obviously very culty characteristics, and I think something to be concerned about. And I understand that there are a lot of people that say this is very he said, she said, and Taylor never gave a ton of like direct examples of why she found him to be manipulative and to be a bully, but we did witness him bullying her online before these statements came out, before this happened, in support of Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. There are things that back her up on this a little. It's not like Scootsy Scoots has never said anything bad about Taylor in his entire life. That's not. I don't know if Scooter Braun was representing Kanye West when the whole drama happened, when Kanye took Taylor's award from her and said that Beyoncé deserved to win. I can't remember if it was album of the year or like song of the year, best female artist. I can't remember what the award was. That's embarrassing. I'm probably going to get really called out by the Swifties for this one. I don't remember if Scooter managed Kanye back then, but he was managing him and was backing him up online publicly when Kanye released his music video Famous, in which a Taylor lookalike is depicted doing things that Taylor said that she never approved of. And then Kim Kardashian leaked a phone call of Taylor saying that the lyrics were fine, even though Taylor claimed that they weren't fine. It was a whole thing. I tend to side with Taylor for all of this because I understand that she may not have known the extent to which the lyrics were going to be used. Again, when you talk about coercive control and manipulation, I know Kanye West and the Kardashians are no stranger to those things and are really smart in how they play their hands at that. And it's very possible that Taylor could have said those things without knowing the full extent to what she was agreeing to. And upon seeing the full extent of what happened, was like, that is not at all what I said. That is not what I would have expected you to do with my blessings and approval. Anyway, this is not a video for me to rant about my support for Taylor Swift, but as I've done the research and looked at the different facts of the situation and the facts we have beyond just he said, she said, I can understand how coercive control and manipulation could have played a role to make things look a certain way. And I don't think Taylor is the one behind the manipulation of it all, especially when you look at the context of Scooter Braun's other clients, other relationships, other rumors about him, and other things that people have publicly said about him. And we're going to get into more of that. People also speculate that Taylor Swift wrote vigilante shit about Scooter Braun, the song that's on her most recent Midnights album, which I tend to agree. And that's kind of playing a role in everyone talking about Scooter Braun right now and his clients appearing to be dropping him left and right. People think, Taylor Swift, there's something behind this, or something might come out about Scooter Braun soon, something financial. I don't know. There's a couple of options of what could be going on there as well, but let's keep going into the Scooter deep dive and some of his other relationships and see what other culty red flags. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. There's one more thing with the Taylor of it all before we transition to the Kanye of it all, where Taylor talks about potential NDAs, and this is really, really culty. So I wanted to show you this as well. This is Taylor's Instagram post that she released when she found out that Scooter Braun had turned around and profited off of the sale of her masters. So she said, I wanted to check in and update you guys. As you know, for the past year, I've been actively trying to regain ownership of my master recordings. With that goal in mind, my team attempted to enter into negotiations with Scooter Braun. Scooter's team wanted me to sign an ironclad NDA stating I would never say another word about Scooter Braun unless it was positive. Before we could even look at the financial records of BMLG, which is always the first step in a purchase of this nature. So I would have to sign the documents that would silence me forever before I could even have a chance to bid on my own work. My legal team said that this is absolutely not normal. They've never seen an NDA like this presented unless it was to silence an assault accuser by paying them off, which we see in cults all the time. He would never even quote my team a price. These master recordings were not for sale to me. I think Scooter Braun has denied a lot of this through his attorney, Marty Singer, but Marty Singer has helped clients in the past sign NDAs of this very nature. So that doesn't bode well for Scooter Braun saying that he didn't do this. She goes on to talk about Shamrock Holdings and that they wanted to enter into an agreement with her. But in that agreement, they would have to still give Scooter Braun money for a very long time. So she decided that she did not want to have anything to do with Scooter Braun at all. And you just have to assume how strong her feelings must be about him for her to choose this path and choose to do this. Obviously, it's proven very successful and lucrative for her, but she didn't know that going into it. And this is when she announced that she started re-recording her albums, which obviously made Scooter, and I think probably the company that bought it from him, not very happy. NDAs are very commonly used not only in the entertainment industry, like Taylor said, to silence victims, but they are often used in cults to silence victims as well. Scientology didn't use a ton of NDAs because they had parishioners sign papers saying that they agreed to an arbitration process before bringing any kind of civil or criminal case against a Scientologist. And that has been held up in court several times where victims are forced into arbitration, but not necessarily forced to not speak out about anything. But this happens in the church world a lot. In a lot of evangelical churches, not only victims, but employees of churches are forced to sign NDAs and no one can come forward. So this is a very, very culty red flag, a very culty allegation. And people have speculated, and I'm going to do a deep dive into this Business Insider article that I showed you before as well. But people have speculated that a lot of people haven't come out against Scooter Braun or haven't said a lot of negative things about him because he gets them to sign these ironclad NDAs, and they're afraid of what will happen to them if they speak negative. So I've explained that Scooter Braun also worked with Kanye West. They had a very on again, off again relationship, but I found something really concerning when I was reading about that as well that just jumps out to me as very allegedly Kanye West called on Scooter Braun to help him with a deal to sell Yeezy to a third-party company with manufacturing capabilities in China. When Braun flew out to meet West, apparently Kanye was second guessing his decision to sell, and Braun told Kanye West that he didn't have to move forward if he wasn't comfortable. That doesn't sound like a culty or coercive statement to me, but again, this is Scooter Braun's side of the story. Kanye West said he didn't want to be scared and said he signed the deal, but then quickly turned on Braun and yelled at him and accused him of trying to trick Kanye West and take advantage of him to sign away Yeezy because Scooter Braun wanted the commission. People say that Scooter Braun was thoroughly insulted by this and tore up the deal, which hadn't yet been given to lawyers. And then the next day, he told Kanye West that they should stop working together. Then other people told a different side of the story from Kanye West's perspective. They said that West was diagnosed with bipolar disorder around this time. Oh no, 2 years earlier. When Kanye West was diagnosed with bipolar, he accused Scooter Braun of attempting to take an ownership interest in Yeezy for himself. They said West felt manipulated by Braun, with one describing the incident as the breaking point for the relationship. He said, he talked the talk. I care about Kanye. I would never take advantage. But Scooter's most, and the former associate said, but Scooter's most important client has always been Scooter. Marty Singer said that this was false. Braun never took a stake in Yeezy or tried to take advantage of Kanye West. I'm so tongue-tied today. And we do know that Kanye was a bit off the rails at this time. So this to me is another he said, she said. However, this is yet another person saying they felt extremely manipulated by Scooter Braun. And there have been rumors that a lot of people were trying to get Kanye West under control around the time when he was having a mental break. There were rumors of potential conservatorships and people trying to take advantage of him and insert themselves into different business dealings during that time. So do with that what you will. I don't know. I'm sure the truth of this is somewhere in the middle. I don't know that I really believe a whole lot that Kanye West had to say about that time period specifically. I don't know. But to me, that's just something to take into consideration, something to pay attention to. Yet another client saying they felt extremely manipulated. So I think we went over all of these. I don't know why I have this slide in here, but it turns out Kanye West is not the only former client to feel extremely manipulated by Scooter Braun. Todrick Hall is a former client of Scooter Braun's. He was another YouTube star, and he accuses Scooter of a few things, including not taking his career seriously and, again, being kind of manipulative. And Todrick Hall released a YouTube visual album that he funded himself while Scooter Braun was still his manager. And he painted him in not the best light. He kind of alluded to Scooter Braun being the inspiration for the wizard, the man behind the curtain, who's not who he claims to be. Sounds a little culty to me. In one scene, the wizard glides into the room on a scooter with a monkey on his shoulder, which is supposed to be a not so subtle reference to Scoots McBraun. So Scooter Braun, who was still Hall's manager at the time, became really upset when he learned the details of this. And people close to the project said that Braun threatened to get Todrick Hall's YouTube channel removed if he didn't delete that part of the video. Marty Singer, Scooter Braun's lawyer, denies that this ever happened. 3 people also said that Braun demanded that Todrick Hall list him as executive producer, even though he hadn't been involved. He wanted more credits than just managing. Hall refused this as well, and that was the end of their relationship together. One of the people who was talking to this journalist for this Business Insider article said it's all about controlling everyone's image and everyone's narrative. Hall is one of the few former clients to speak out. Again, I'm suspecting that this is likely because of NDAs. I don't know if Hall was able to get out of this without an NDA or if he just doesn't care, because a lot of times slander NDAs don't hold up, because in order to prove that something was done wrong or maliciously, you have to prove that the person was lying. And no one wants to take that to court or be deposed and have to. Todrick Hall also tweeted in support of Taylor Swift when the Taylor Swift scandal was going down. He said that Scooter Braun was evil, and Demi Lovato, one of Scooter's clients, kind of came to his defense when Todrick Hall was talking about that. There's another tweet that Todrick posted. He says that Scooter Braun is an evil person whose only concern is his wealth and his ego. He believes that he's homophobic, and he says that he heard from Scooter Braun's own mouth that he is not a Taylor Swift fan and didn't like her. Now, of course, Demi coming to his defense is significant because Demi had just come out as queer. Her pronouns are she, they. At the time, they were they, them, as Demi was trying to figure out her identity and how she wanted to move through the world. And she was basically saying Scooter Braun wouldn't be representing me if he was homophobic. Again, when there's money involved, when there's something to gain, when Scooter sees a vulnerable person, I doubt there's much that he wouldn't do. It's kind of giving, I don't know. I don't really want to accuse Scooter Braun of being homophobic because we don't have any evidence or indication of it other than Todrick Hall saying this. So maybe I won't go down that rabbit hole. But it's just a common tactic of cults. Scientology is homophobic, evangelical Christianity, Hillsong, they're all homophobic, but they often say they're not, and that queer people are welcome. But what they don't tell you is they're only welcome as long as they are falling in line and as long as they are willing to change. So don't know that that's the case with Scooter. I will make that explicitly clear. That is you make your own decision on that. What I will say is Marty Singer, Scooter Braun's attorney accuses Todrick Hall of just being a disgruntled former employee with significant animosity towards Braun. He also, earlier up in this article, accused him of having bad workplace conduct himself. And I will say that that is a cult tactic to attack. Always call someone a disgruntled ex-member, a disgruntled this, someone who has an axe to grind when someone tries to speak out or share their experience or their bad experience, and then also to discredit their character as opposed to addressing the allegations themselves is just really culty. Another aspect to all of this is Scooter Braun's relationship with Ariana Grande. He has also been accused of being very involved with Ariana Grande's relationships. We know ever since her song Thank You Next came out, a lot of people have been really invested in all of the people that Ariana Grande dated, similar in a way to how people were invested in Taylor Swift's relationships. And allegedly, Ariana and Pete Davidson had issues and didn't make it because of Scooter's meddling in their relationship, some sources have said. Ariana Grande also fired Scooter Braun back in 2016 and then rehired him back. And a lot of people were very critical of him because he said when it came to Ariana firing him, he could have said a lot of stuff. And in fact, his team wanted him to because they were pissed. But Scooter said, let's not say anything. This is going to come back around. We're not going to say anything about her. And he said, let our truth be our actions. And then he said, and when shitty boyfriends leave, she starts to see the light on some stuff, and she got a call and came back to him. Now, you can form your own opinions on that. I think that's pretty misogynistic and gross. But again, it's just kind of another notch on like the bullying and manipulation belt. There are also allegations of overworking Ariana Grande as well. When the attack happened at her Manchester concert, I'm not going to use specific words because I don't want YouTube to flag this, but when that tragic event occurred and there was an attack on people at her concert and she died, she was obviously very traumatized by it, and people felt that Scooter Braun pushed her to perform too soon after the incident. And in fact, a year later, she was back on the same stage doing a benefit concert for the victims of that situation. I didn't find a whole lot on that. I just wanted to throw that in there as another accusation to overworking, because when you look, this is the thing about culty vibes, culty people, when we talk about something being cult like, if you look at all of these things individually, it's very easy to explain away. It's easy to say you're reading too much into it, or you don't know what you're talking about, or he could have felt this way, he could have felt that way. But when you pile all of them together and you have the same thing happening over and over again that allude to an attribute of a cult, that's when you start having red flags. And that's when I start looking at a person as like, there might be more than meets the eye here. And of course, you never really know for sure until people start speaking out. I also noticed another red flag with Ariana Grande in this insider article. When Ariana Grande first worked with Braun before she fired him, she had two other managers because she was fresh off of Nickelodeon and had other managers when he wanted to take her on. And when she fired him and re-signed, she had fired her other two managers and re-signed only with Scooter Braun. But insiders have said that Scooter did not get along with her other former managers at all. In fact, he said that, where is it? He would come into the office numerous times to meet with them, and relations often turned ugly. And the previous managers were just fighting for any semblance of a good deal in the end when things were transitioning. And they also couldn't speak out about the situation because of the NDAs. Again, when you see things here or there, it might not mean anything, but when you see it over and over again, it starts adding up to some red flags. They said that they felt like it was like losing a child, losing Ariana to Scooter Braun's management. Ariana Grande settled with her other two managers outside of all of this, and Marty Singer says that Scooter Braun had no involvement in it. There are a couple other situations and red flags in Scooter Braun's client relationships, but I'm going to save that for another video because I'm going to either make a video and go live going through that Business Insider article, like piece by piece, because there were a lot of examples and culty red flags in that in particular. But now we're going to move on to the $200 million lawsuit between Scooter Braun and a former business partner and some of the accusations that go along with that. So allegedly, what was going on with this lawsuit is that Scooter Braun entered into a business relationship with a former executive and another manager, David Bolno, to launch a private equity fund called Scope. The business partner, Commissar, I don't know how you would pronounce that. I'm probably going to get made fun of for pronouncing it wrong, claimed that there was fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and breach of contract, and states that in 2016, he was recruited to help launch Scope, and Scooter Braun promised he could raise between $500 million and $700 million from close friends, and that ended up being a failure. Commissar claims that Braun turned out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, that he never had the ability or intended to put the effort into fundraising. And we see this a lot with cults and people in cults and people at the top of cults. There usually is some level of financial fraud going on. And again, referring back to people thinking that vigilante shit was written by Taylor Swift about Scooter Braun, there have been thoughts or accusations that Scooter Braun might be doing something unsavory behind the scenes. There's never been anything substantial to that, though. There are rumors currently that he's under investigation with the FBI. Again, I don't know if there's anything really to back that up, but I'm just saying that he might not be who he says he is. Now, Scooter Braun, I believe, countersued his former business partner, and he claimed that there was no evidence to support this attack. He said that it was just a money grab because this was happening right around the time that Scooter Braun was selling Ithaca Holdings to a South Korean entertainment company called Hybe. And he made a very significant amount of money off of that and was basically saying that this old partner was just trying to get in. What I find interesting about this is that as soon as Scooter Braun heard about the complaint, he almost immediately filed to have this moved into arbitration, claiming that he didn't want this to ruin his image while he was in business dealings to sell his company, only he had already sold his company. So his sale wasn't really in jeopardy due to this lawsuit, but he really wanted it to go into arbitration and be settled behind closed doors, whereas the business partner, commissar, I don't know, wanted this to happen in public or in court or in front of a jury and didn't want to go through the arbitration process. Again, giving major Scientology vibes because they force everyone through arbitration. Of course, Scientology's arbitration is a religious arbitration that is not fair because it's basically just Scientology and Scientologists telling the person who is suing them or has a complaint against them that they're wrong. Regular arbitration isn't necessarily like that. So I'm not comparing Scooter Braun. I'm not saying that that's exactly what Scooter Braun is doing, but wanting things to happen behind closed doors versus wanting things to happen out in the open just makes you wonder who has something to hide versus who wants everything out and shown. I want to kind of leave you with the end of this Business Insider article where a music creative said that they wouldn't really ever want to be repped by Scooter Braun. But then in some other ways, they're like, maybe I would want to be repped by him because he gets his clients insane deals. You're sort of like, he's a piece of shit, but he's my piece of shit. And again, this is that unbalanced power dynamic. This is that Scooter Braun really puts on this air of being able to get anything done that his clients need. And what would someone be willing to do or put up with or take from a person in order to have the promise of a flourishing career or being really wealthy or whatever? That to me is super culty, or at the very least has the potential to be super culty. Again, Scooter Braun is one of those people that I think there are red flags there. That doesn't mean that he is or isn't. There would have to be more to come out or someone to say more on the record for us to know how bad it really is. But I think that knowing all of this about Scooter at least helped me understand as I was doing the research, and hopefully helps you understand why there's all this speculation coming out about is something else coming down the pipeline for Scooter, and why is everybody reporting leaving him as a manager right now. So to recap with the clients leaving, this started a few days ago on a Friday. There were reports going around by a journalist saying that Justin Bieber was leaving Scooter Braun as his manager. They were having a manager breakup, and Justin Bieber was open to and looking for new management. Very shortly after that, there were a ton of reports, an exclusive report saying that that's not true, that Justin and Scooter just worked on a project together and they will continue working together in the future. And the person who originally wrote the article, though, is adamant that he heard that there is something messy going on behind the scenes and that Justin is looking for something else. Then the next Monday, it was reported that Demi Lovato and Scooter Braun had split as well. This was confirmed by Demi Lovato and her team, but this happened sometime in June. It hadn't happened in August when all of this is going down. Then it came out that J Balvin, who we talked about in the very beginning, who was managed by Scooter Braun, left his management in May of this year. Idina Menzel apparently left being managed by Scooter Braun in January of this year. And again, this was all being reported within the same 2 or 3 days. Then reports came out that Ariana Grande wasn't being managed by Scooter Braun anymore. And that came out with a denial as well, that people were saying, no, she's still working with him. At least that's what Scooter Braun's camp said. Apparently, nobody had heard confirmation or denial from Ariana Grande herself. And again, the person who was reporting this was pretty reputable and is adamant that this is what is going on. So people are speculating, did something happen? Is a lawsuit coming? Because we had that lawsuit a couple years ago where his former business partner was suing him. Are people catching on that he's not such a great guy, like Taylor Swift said? Is he being investigated by the FBI? I don't know if that rumor is just solely from vigilante shit or if there's anything to it. I'm sure we will find out, or I guess hear nothing about it. A lot of people are saying that this has gotten way too out of hand, and that because Scooter Braun sold Ithaca Holdings to that South Korean company Hive, he's kind of phasing himself out of being a business manager and he started another business doing something else. I don't even know what at this point, but they're saying that he's just phasing out of being a manager and managing so many clients and wants to go more into a CEO role instead. And people are saying that he'll always keep Justin Bieber on. I guess maybe he always wants to keep Ariana Grande on. But they're saying that that is the simple explanation of why this might be occurring. I will leave that up to you guys to decide. Part of me really wants to always go with the simple, most reasonable, logical explanation. But when you have this many red flags, you just never. Now, this was the deep dive, but I guess you could consider this part one because that Business Insider article that I've referenced several times throughout this video has a lot more to it. It was really long, but really worth the read because there are even more things with other clients and other behaviors that I personally think are red flags and are very culty that I want to go over with you. But I didn't want to make this whole video just going over the Business Insider article step by step. This would have made this like 3 times as long. So we're going to do that separately. So like, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening, watching, whatever, because there is going to be a part 2 of Scooter Braun. Also, comment on this. Let me know what you think. Did you learn something? Do you think Scooter Braun is super culty? Do you think I'm reading way too much into this? Whatever you think, I want to hear about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video, I guess.